Hello there. The arrest of 7 people during protests again in with the Iranian government that called London on the scene. The detainees are believed to be British-Iranian dual nationals. According to a newspaper report, the British government in London wants to officially classify the Iranian Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist group because of the arrest of the 7 people with connections to Great Britain. The move, which is due to be announced in the coming weeks, has the backing of Britain's Security Secretary Tom Tugendhat and Home Secretary Suella Braverman. That's at least what the Telegraph newspaper reported on Monday, citing people familiar with the matter. The UK Home Office did not immediately respond to a request from Reuters for comment on the report. Iran's Revolutionary Guards arrested 7 people on Sunday during anti-government protests as they attempted to leave the country. Some of them have dual citizenship, according to a statement released by state media. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak then urged the Iranian government on Wednesday to end the detention of dual nationals, saying the practice should not be used as diplomatic leverage. Classification as a terrorist organization would mean that belongings to this group, attending its meetings, and wearing its logo in public would be criminalized. In Iran, the Supreme Court upheld another death sentence against a protester in connection with the protests as well. As reported by the Mizan Justice Portal, the young Mohammed was convicted of allegedly injuring security forces with a weapon. According to Islamic legal opinion in Iran, the accusation was waging war against God and is punishable by death. Human rights activists have repeatedly criticized the relevant fast-track negotiations as court trials as sham trials. After confirmation by the Supreme Court, judgments can no longer be appealed. And so far, 2 demonstrators have been executed in Iran for their involvement in protests. According to Iranian press reports, more than 20 other demonstrators are on the judiciary's death list. According to human rights groups, more than 500 demonstrators have already been killed in the course of the protests. The violent crackdown on the demonstrators, and in particular the 2 executions, were condemned at home and abroad. And over the weekend, security forces in the Kurdish city of Javanrud in northwestern Iran used violence again against a memorial service for demonstrators who were killed. While the street protests in other parts of the country have recently decreased, Iranians reported a threatening calm and increased hopelessness in the face of the violent government action and the difficult economic situation. The headscarf requirement is also to be pursued more strictly in some cases, including through video surveillance. Protests against the country's leadership have been going on in Iran for months. The trigger was the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini. She died in disputed circumstances in September after being taken into police custody for wearing clothing inappropriate under Iran's strict Islamic dress code for women. The protests pose one of the biggest challenges for the Shia Muslim-ruled Islamic Republic since the 1979 revolution. But Great Britain is not only campaigning against the regime in Iran. Britain is also helping Ukraine to clear mines and unexploded missiles now. The Ministry of Defense in London announced on Friday that more than 1,000 metal detectors and 100 bomb disposal equipment packages had been delivered. Russia's use of landmines and attacks on civilian infrastructure underscores the shocking ferocity of Russian President Vladimir Putin's invasion, said Department Head Ben Wallace. This new British support package will help Ukraine safely clear land and buildings as it reclaims its rightful territory, he said. London is one of Ukraine's largest suppliers of arms, but also of other support. And so far, more than 11,000 Ukrainian soldiers have also been trained in Britain. And I'm quite happy about the involvement of the British there. Some people always are coming up when they don't like what I say. This is an anti-British channel. No, it's not. It's a channel that definitely disagrees with the politics of the current Tory government and the last Tory governments since the Brexit referendum and whatever happens there and what the members of this government do. But I'm not anti-British. I live there myself. I have a lot of friends there, be it in England, be it in Scotland, be it in Wales, be it in Northern Ireland. But it is this government I have a problem with. And I'm reporting what is happening. So I'm not taking Britain down in my videos. I'm reporting what is going on at the moment. It's not my fault that that is going on, that is what's happening in Britain now. But I'm absolutely glad the British are involved in global politics. Even if Boris Johnson was a big defender of the Ukraine, let's be nice and say partly for the fact that he wanted to save his own ass and his post in Downing Street number 10. But I'm glad that that was the result. I would like my government to do even more for Ukraine than they do now. There's still a lot of things they could do, they deny to do at the moment, which I think is completely wrong. But the democratic states have to stick together against things happening in Ukraine and also what is going on in Iran. Whenever I go to a group meeting on Mondays in the city center, in the city hall, I pass demonstrations from Iranians against what is going on in Iran. And of course, I've direct contact here with Ukrainians and about the war and with the help from my city to another city in Ukraine to help. And there it is so important that the British are a big part of this, a big part of the Western democracies that is helping there. So I thank the British government, not for much, but for this I do thank them that they do this. And I hope they will continue to do so. And I also was very glad to hear that the US Congress passed the budget with even more money to help Ukraine than President Biden even wanted. So there's a lot developing there in the aid part. But of course, if it's about me, the war would have to stop tomorrow. Russia would have to take their troops out of Ukraine, and that's it. But that's nothing that we're going to see. As long as Putin is there, or if the wrong people get rid of Putin, the war will go on. They will not just go back without that. But it is a very difficult situation, and I'm very glad, I must repeat this, that Great Britain is having a leading role in the help for Ukraine, and that they are taking steps against Iran now as well. And I'll see you in my next video. I'll be back.